Thank you for taking some time for yourself. Take a long, deliberate breath of air. And let's establish something hilarious right at the threshold. You're not going to solve your entire life in the next 10 minutes. I know that's devastating news for your inner control freak, but you are officially off the clock as Chief CEO of the universe. The spreadsheets are locked. The imaginary crisis board is adjourned. Instead of trying to fix your personality, let's do something radically boring. Just notice you have a body. Feel the exact weight of your frame dropping into the chair or mattress. Perfect. Notice the air going into your nose and coming out of your mouth. You don't need a PhD to do this. Gravity is handling 100% of the physics without your permission or your helpful commentary. As your brain realizes, it doesn't have a job to do right now. Notice how a heavy, slightly lazy stillness can finally creep into your hands and feet. Not because you ordered it to, but because your analytical mind is finally shutting up for a second. While you're sitting there, doing absolutely nothing dangerous. Let's appreciate the comedy of your internal anxiety department. The room is quiet. No one's chasing you, yet your mind is running a multi-million-dollar risk analysis on events that haven't even happened yet, to people you haven't even met, in scenarios you've completely made up. Where do you keep the physical trophy of this over-processing? Is it that classic metallic clenching in your jaw? The heavy defensive armor plates locked around your chest? The rigid knot in your stomach that acts like it's defending a fort from a medieval siege? Don't try to fix it. Just look at it and appreciate the dramatic flare of your nervous system from a safe, amused distance. If that anxious overthinking had a physical texture, what kind of jagged, overheating circuit board would it be? If it had a flashing warning light on a cheap dashboard, what obnoxiously bright colour would it be emitting? And if that exhausted, looping brain could scream its favourite piece of code at you, what is the masterpiece of logic it relies on? Is the loop like, if I stop worrying for 5 minutes, everything I love will instantly implode? Does it insist we must anticipate every single variable in the next 10 years before we can relax? Notice how incredibly exhausting that programming is. It's not a divine truth. It's just an old, undeleted software loop running on biological hardware that is practically begging you to pull the plug. Because here is the grand hilarious distortion of anxiety. The deeply held belief that if you just stressed out hard enough, you can somehow manipulate the fabric of reality and force the future to behave. It's the delusion that your brain is a nuclear mainframe computer that must constantly calculate catastrophes to keep you breathing. Which brings us to a beautiful moment of historical perspective from the year 1971. Before 1971, if you wanted to do heavy math, you needed a machine the size of a commercial refrigerator. It lived in a freezing room, hummed like a broken refrigerator, consumed enough electricity to power a small village, and got incredibly hot just to tell you what 2 + 2 was. It was loud, rigid, and completely incapable of chilling out. But in 1971, Texas Instruments looked at that ridiculous setup and introduced the Pockettronic, the first portable electronic calculator. Suddenly, all that aggressive high-voltage computing power was packed into a silent plastic box that could sit quietly in a coat pocket. Inside was a tiny silicon chip designed to take a massive chaotic mess of numbers, slide them through a logic gate and instantly reduce them down to a single quiet figure. But the real genius of the silicon chip wasn't how it calculated, it was how it stopped. The calculator didn't have an ego. It didn't sit in the engineer's pocket at 4 a.m. wondering if it had offended the number 7 during long division. It didn't obsess over the millions of equations it solved yesterday. And it didn't pre-worry that the numbers tomorrow might be too big to handle. You typed in a chaotic, overwhelming disaster of an equation. The transistors flashed. It gave you the answer. And then the moment you hit the clear key, the current stopped. The logic gates instantly reset to a pristine, empty zero. The silicon cooled down. It went into absolute, beautiful standby mode. Your anxious mind has completely forgotten that it has a clear key. It is behaving like an oversized, clunky 1960s mainframe, trapping old electrical currents, keeping the transformers buzzing all night, over-processing old data, overheating the entire system over nothing. So right now, behind a massive pane of thick, non-conductive safety glass, let's let the system flush any residual electrical panic trapped in your circuits. Let it ground out safety into the floor. The weeks of useless overthinking, let that voltage drop out through your heels. If you're frustrated you haven't solved your life yet, let the pressure valve pop. You're excused from the math test. Let the heavy sighs leave your lungs like an exhaust fan, cooling down a fried hard drive. Just let the machine power down and watch this beautiful, cynical separation take place. the variables of your life, the chores of tomorrow, the unresolved human drama, they all still exist out there on paper. We aren't magic. We aren't erasing reality. But the emotional high voltage attached to them is officially being unhooked from your nerve endings. It's like pulling the main breaker switch on an appliance that's smoking. The files stay on the desk, but the power running through them is zero. The data can sit on the shelf in the dark. It doesn't have the security clearance to mess with your heart rate right now. Your unconscious mind is finally realizing the joke here. Your anxiety wasn't proof that you're broken or fatally flawed. You just have a ridiculously fast processor that got bored and started inventing problems to solve. It was an overachieving asset, running an outdated security script. But the shift is over. The math is done. We are redirecting your focus away from the flashing scoreboard of predictions and stepping into the quiet, brainless comfort of standby mode. The microprocessors are cooling. The fans are spinning down to a faint whisper, and the display screen is fading to black. Find that version of you that actually knows how to be completely blank. The version that knows how to look at an equation, shrug and hit the clear button without a shred of guilt. See that uncharged, delightfully indifferent version of you becoming larger and more real. It feels incredibly good. The muscles are dropping their voltage. The thoughts are losing their edge. The heavy blanket of beautiful apathy is settling over the grid. You don't need to calculate a damn thing right now. 0 is a perfectly safe number. And sooner or later, whether it's tomorrow at lunch, next week, or during a sudden scheduling mess, you will find yourself in a situation that used to trigger a massive, high voltage calculation meltdown. And you'll wait for it. You'll wait for the internal alarm to go off, the numbers to start spinning, the panic loop to start. And it won't just happen. Instead, your unconscious mind will remember the silicon architecture of 1971. Your nervous system will look at the incoming chaos, choose not to pass a current through it, and casually tap the internal clear key. You'll feel a cool, dry wave of indifference sweep across your chest, leaving you perfectly steady at a quiet 0. Every single time you bring your attention back to the physical weight of your body, your physiology will automatically drop its voltage. The brain will instantly click into a standby mode. Your thoughts will dissolve into soft, non-numerical, blurry shapes. Uncertainty is just an unclicked file, not an emergency. The calculator is off. The circuit is open. The gates are at rest. Clear the screen. Let the current die. Power down the drive and slide completely, quietly, with absolute zero effort into a deep, beautiful standby. Perfect. And when you're ready to orient yourself back into your external world, you can take a few deep breaths, stretch out, wriggle your fingers and toes, and open your eyes. Welcome back. You are perfect, just as you are.